and it's great to be back with all of you. A season has passed since I gathered with you last, and if you can, I'm imagining back to that time, in fact, where I was and what the temperature was like outside and how my internal world was reflecting what was going on out there. And now we gather with Shavuot nearly upon us, just hours away. And this is, as Mark said, a highly auspicious time to celebrate the giving of Torah. Jewish tradition teaches us that up there on that mountain, every Jewish soul that ever existed gathered together. All of us were there in this multi-sensory experience, lightning and thunder, and maybe incense, and maybe music. I imagine that there was some chanting, and I imagine that there was some dancing, and I can't imagine that there wasn't some food up there on that mountain with all of us gathered. And of course, we didn't know why we were gathered. We just knew that we were to be there. Retrospectively, Shavuot has also been given the name Zman Matan Toratenu, the time of the giving of the Torah. And a lot has been written and spoken about why it's called the time of the giving of the Torah and not the time of the receiving of the Torah. This idea that it was given and not received implies that the giving occurred and leaves a question mark as to who received what and how. Our sages teach that each one of us who was there did in fact receive Torah according to our capacity. To me, this begs a question: what does it mean, according to our capacity? Does it mean that some of us were able to take in more and some of us able to take in less? Perhaps so. And it begs a bigger question: what do we need to do in order to expand our capacity to take in that which is offered to us on this night of revelation? Please note, this is not the same as asking the question, how fast can I read the Torah? How much Torah can I chant? How many stories do I know? How many of the Torah's mitzvot do I uphold? This is not what we're talking about. Instead, I think that yes, Shavuot is about Torah. It's about peoplehood. It's about harvest. It's about cheesecake. But at a spiritual level, it's about our capacity to receive truth, to take in the reality of what is happening around us and within us, to hold that reality and to be with it. Each year, we read Torah week on week on week. And some might ask, why are we reading the same thing every single year? I'm not the first person by any stretch to say this. The best I understand is that we read the parsha each week, and our job is to interact with it, not as we are. Not as it is, but as we are, seeking the wisdom that it might offer us in the season. Because yes, the Torah is the same, but we are not the same. For those who were with us here in the time of thaw, even a few months ago, I dare say that we are not even the same as we were then. We're not even the same as we were in February. At a biological, physiological level, our cells have grown, some have gone, some have come. Our minds have been impacted by all the things we've thought about, all the conversations we've had, the evolving news in the world. Our hearts have likely been tenderized by world events and by personal events, sometimes feeling strong, sometimes feeling vulnerable. And if we think of our spirit as a flame, it's constantly changing shape, changing form, illuminating and shifting and dancing. So we arrive now to just a few hours before Shavuot, and we might ask ourselves the question, what do I need to release in order to have more capacity to receive? Are there narratives? or beliefs about ourselves or about others that we're holding on to? Is there tension in the body or in the relationships that we hold dear? Are there protective lids, covers over our minds or our hearts that keep us from being able to take in the truth of the season? Are there fears that constrict us and narrow the way in which they might come? I want to explore this and focus on it a little bit today, because I know all too well that letting go of something is not a function of being aware that it's time to let go. If only that were the case, life would feel much easier. Sometimes we need to work through how to let go, how to gently massage our hands open or our hearts open or our minds open in order to make a pathway to a new reality. One way that we do this is by moving along the Omer path, which helps to deepen our reflection, helps us to realign with our best selves by way of the Sefirot. And that work ensures that we are balanced and stable. If I think about receiving something really big, if someone said, "Here, hold this," I would want to make sure that I'm in a stable posture, well balanced and open, so that I could receive and hold. Those who have been with us for the Awareness in Action journey have been reflecting day in, day out, week out on the various midot. And even if you haven't taken this course before, I'm going to recap a little bit and invite us into reflection and mindfulness to help us prepare for this evening. So let's settle in. As always, I invite you to bring more comfort into your body, into your posture, into your breath, into your belly. Notice where your shoulders are. Consider whether that's where you want them to be. Feel the connection between your body and whatever you're sitting on or lying on. Take note of gravity, ever faithful, holding us in place. And I'll invite you to breathe consciously into your belly and to feel the expansion in the body, already making more capacity. Allow your thoughts to float by. No need to hold on to them. Just let them flow. Notice sensation, temperature, internally, temperature of the air on your skin, feeling of your clothes making contact with your body. Notice if you feel your heartbeat or your pulse. Feel in your body now, where is chesed? Where is loving kindness located? According to Kabbalah, it's in the right arm or in the right hand, but it may not be there right now. There's no incorrect or correct place for it to be in your body. See if you can feel where loving kindness emanates from. It might help to imagine the face of a loved one, something or someone that matters to you enough that you want to give generously. What does it feel like to connect in with your sense of chesed, the flow of goodness? How do you experience its flow? For some of us left unrestrained, chesed could take over our entire bodies. And the warmth, that sense of a cosmic hug that we get from chesed could encourage us to stay there. But we know that this is a time for balance, and so we have to seek gevura. Where do you reach to inwardly when you need to exercise restraint? When you need to turn down the tap of generosity and chesed, to hold something back for yourself? What does it feel like to hold a boundary? What is the sensation when you find your no, or no thank you, or even not right now? What is the sensation of receiving a no thank you, or a not right now? Connect in with that place of gevura, the origin of strength in your body. And just notice which one was easier to access. Maybe they were both readily available. Maybe one was scarce. Can you bring them together? Where in your body do they meet? The Kabbalists teach that they alchemize in the heart space. Can you feel them there? Check in with your body. Where are your shoulders now? Close are they to your ears? Are they up? Are they down? Are they disparate? You might choose to stretch out your arms to feel the flow of chesed and gevura from your fingertips coming in through your arms to this heart center place in the middle. This is Tiferet. This is the place that alchemizes generosity and boundaries to bring us into balance. You might put your hands in your heart space or feel the beat of your heart, reminding you that it is important to move from a place of kindness, and it is important to hold boundaries too. You might be able to feel the consistent beat of your heart, an equilibrium, holding balance, holding steady. We move down into the right leg, into the right hip. This is the place of netzach, of endurance, of eternity, of discipline. It may be there in that right side, that right leg, that right hip, or not. Where do you gather energy from when you need to strive? When you need to move something forward? Where do you reach for determination? What are you striving towards in this season? What is important enough that compels you towards it? If that sensation of striving is in one place in the body, in another part of the body, perhaps the left leg or hip or somewhere else, is hod, the sense of surrender, of splendor, of accepting what is and exercising gratitude. What is the sensation of hod? What does it feel like to allow for stillness, to rest in splendor, even when there's so much we could strive towards. We need hod. It's the thing that keeps us from running ourselves ragged. Now, if we bring Netzach and hod together, this is foundation, yesod. It's where the flow of responsiveness meets surrender, repacing us and helping us to take right and appropriate action towards creating a better world. This comes from right pace, from accepting what is so that we can be in response to it, so that we can direct our striving. Not unbridled energy running full steam ahead, but moving with deliberate pace. You might stretch your legs out a bit. Feel your feet. Notice where in the body, which side or which parts feel dominant in strength. Are there parts that need some tenderness or care? All of this, the loving kindness, the boundaries, the balance, the responsive energy, and the stillness and the foundation, all of it now on this day, Malchut Sheba Malchut, creation within creation. Everything flows to this point. This is the way that we create our future, individually and collectively. Each of these characteristics, emanations in balance, steady flow, nothing forced, nothing gushing. You can imagine the steady flow of all these energies through, coming through the crown of the head and moving through with such ease. This is the embodiment of being a divine channel. From this posture, we are open and ready to receive, so that in this time of Zman Matan Toratenu, this time of the giving of Torah, we are postured and ready to receive that truth which is to be revealed to us. A moment will invite you back into this space. Just breathe. Feel your body. Notice where is there capacity? Where is there tightness or constriction? How might you move towards greater balance? What do you need in order to bring stability and strength so that we're ready to receive what is on offer tonight? Whether in the Zoom room or in community space or even in your dreams. However you avail yourself to the revelation of this time. I invite you to continue to breathe deeply, to open up, to create capacity. And I'll invite you to slowly come back, maybe wiggling fingers or toes, stretching, gently opening the eyes. And I'll offer the prayer or the blessing that whatever revelation come this night, we be open to receive, that we be prepared to take action, that it bring honor to our ancestors, and that it merit the good for generations to come.
So much gratitude to you, Kohenet Keshira, haLev, Fife, leading us through that beautiful practice. And friends, before you leave, I hope you'll stay with us as we offer an opportunity for those who are in mourning and or observing a yard site, or if it's for whom it's the custom to participate in the mourner's Kaddish, to do so. If you're not reciting Kaddish, to please stay present. For those who are, you are an important part of this minyan of comfort and support for those who are grieving. If you're reciting Kaddish and you'd like to put the name or names of those you're honoring today in the chat box, you can do so now or after we recite Kaddish. Thanks to Jet for sharing the words of the Kaddish on the screen. And if you're reciting them, I invite you to join me by rising in body or in spirit. And you can unmute at this time.
Yitkadal v'yitgadash.
Yitkadash,
Le'raba.
Yamad,
Yavadura.
all Beit Yisrael, Agalah, Man Karib, Shmei Rabba Barach, Olam Hu Amen, Omayah. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitzhar, Yitrumam, Yitzeh, Yitodar, Yitalel, Yitrulal, Yitah, Ba'elam, Yimim, Birchata, Tata, Benechemata, Ilam, Ba'alma, Be'imru, Shalama Rabba, Mimru, Chaim, Aleinu, Israel. Yoseh Shalom Bimromav, Yaseh Shalom B'Amko Yisrael.
Amen.
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 Friends, thank you so much for joining us today. And for those who are leaving us now, I want to wish you a Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom, and hope it's a rich and meaningful time for you. As always, folks are invited to stay on, to continue just to sit if you'd like, to use the container of this time and space. If you'd like to just keep sitting, you can, of course, turn off the volume on your device and just be with us. Stay with your practice. That's great to do that. If you'd like to engage in the conversation with Keshira about this really beautiful practice today, teaching and practice, please stay on. You can share reflections, questions, comments in the chat, and we'll keep an eye on that. If you have a question you'd like to put to Keshira, please preface it by writing question in all caps, and I'll try to keep an eye on that. Thanks to Jet Bachman, as always, for holding this space with so much skill and care and attention. Very grateful to you, Jet, for that. And of course, grateful to each of you for being here. So, Keshira, let's bring you in here and keep an eye on the chat. You know, I'm really so moved and so appreciated how skillfully you kind of brought us through all, you know, a little semester recap, right, of before the final. It was really helpful.
I was paying attention.
I wanted to take notes. Hope everyone was paying attention. It's like, that's all you need for the final exam, is just leading us so beautifully through the flow of the energies of each week of the Omer, and where we're winding up here. You know, and you mentioned that, you know, it's interesting that it's the holiday, among the many names for the holiday, is that is known as Man Matan Toratenu, which is weird because that means season of our giving of Torah, the giving of Torah, when we're actually receiving Torah. But when you led us through the practice, and kind of imagined ourselves and like that energy from the crown of the head just kind of flowing through us, which is just a great practice. What it brought to mind for me was, oh, maybe it's Matan Toratino, because we're not just receiving Torah. This is the holiday that's actually about remembering that we are meant to be conduits or channels of Torah. So it's receiving and giving at the same time. It's like, it's a flow through, right? It's just passing, this is just passing through us. And really our job is to try to, I guess, check the ego enough to make the space that flow can move through us. So I wanted to invite you to come back to that question that you raised about, like, why is it the giving of Torah when it's season for receiving Torah?
Yeah.
And then keep an eye on questions here too.
Yes. I think about the times in my life when someone has offered something to me, a reflection or feedback, and I haven't been able to take it in. And it's reminded me that just because something is there for us doesn't mean that we're available for it. And so this season in particular feels like one to renew that openness so that we can be a channel in that divine flow, in that reciprocity, to check in with ourselves. What am I able to take in? What am I resisting? If we resist things for too long, we calcify. And so this is perhaps a holiday that invites us to kind of relimber spiritually, mentally, emotionally, so that we can receive that which is coming our way, and we can allow it to move through, to flow through, to not get stuck. And as you say, to live it, to have it come out in our actions and in the way that we are with each other.
Yeah. And what you just said is making me, I'm thinking about some language you used in the meditation when you got to Yesod foundation, you used the word surrender. I don't remember exactly how you put it. Does this ring a bell? It like stuck, it stayed with me. Which feels to me ties in with what you're saying now about growing an awareness of those obstacles, the hindrances, the resistances, right? And that a big part of, let's say, the Jewish spiritual practice of preparing for Shavuot and for Shavuot is that it's an act of surrender of our own will, surrender of our own need to be right, surrender of our own need to know and control and manipulate. And really, that's the essence of the practice, is that it's a gradual process of surrendering until we get to the end and we just say, let it just come through me. I don't need to do anything other than let it pour through me if I can get myself out of the way. So it was just interesting that that word came up. Do you remember using it?
Yes, I was describing Yesod as first allowing that surrender, just as you say, and allowing it to meet the energy of responsive action, right? Because the idea that, yes, we surrender, we let it go, we let everything flow, could easily, if gone to the extreme, become resignation. And the goal of Shavuot is not to be resigned. It's to receive in a way that is present and responsive, so that we do something with that which we receive.
Yeah. Just to clarify, there's some questions like about just practical questions about for people who may be tuning in late, or for whom this is a new. It's interesting because Shavuot is one of the it's a big holiday in the Torah, right? There are three big holidays: Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Those were the three pilgrimage holidays in temple times. But Shavuot is pretty far down the list of Jewish holidays that people either know about or practice in liberal Judaism. Partly because it doesn't have that much. There's not a lot of ritual associated with it, like with Sukkot, right, or with Pesach. It's kind of the neglected holiday. There is the idea, though, and this ties in with one of the other questions of tikkun, like that, which has become quite popular, tikkun leil Shavuot, which is the practice of staying up all night, learning, practicing learning Talmud Torah until sunset, which, as I understand, it's called a tikkun, a repair, because according to the Midrash, these, our ancestors overslept on Shavuot, and so we got to make up for it by saying, I'm not even going to go to sleep. I'm going to pull an all-nighter. Luckily, this year we got long, Shabbat and a long weekend to catch up on the sleep after pulling the all-nighter. So I wanted to just invite you to make, just in general, like if you are teaching people who don't know a lot about Shavuot, like what's your elevator talk about? If someone gets in the elevator, oh, you're a Kohenet? Oh,
What do you do
I
on
heard this
Shavuot?
holiday Shavuot coming up. What's that about?
So we have to wind back a little bit and frame it first by saying that Pesach, which happened 49 days ago, was our portal of liberation. And it brought us through to this wilderness. We've been wandering in this wilderness. And on Shavuot, we come to the base of a mountain and we ascend the mountain. And we have to remember, of course, hindsight is 2020. Nobody knew what was going to happen on the mountain. I think about now, just to get my own community to all come in one place at one time for any specific purpose takes a lot of effort in explaining what's going to happen and what time, and will there be a break, and will there be bathroom access, and who else is going to be there. This was 600,000 people, souls gathered in faith, in trust. And they went, they knew something was going to happen there. And of course, revelation occurred, and we could have a long series of discussions about what does that actually mean? What happened up there? We don't necessarily know, although we surmise. But mystically speaking, this was a time of revelation when Torah was given. And as we've said, our sages teach that each one of us received according to our capacity.
Mm-hmm.
What I would say that means now is that each of us, it's still incumbent upon us to receive according to our capacity, not to receive the whole Torah, but to receive our piece. Because if I receive my piece and you receive your piece, and each of us lives out the piece that we receive, then together we continue our tradition. We continue to bring the wisdom of how to create Olam Haba, the world to come. And we move towards a better world and a better life for us and for future generations.
Beautiful. That's really beautiful. That is beautiful. You bring up, there are some good questions there I'm going to bring in, but I just wanted to ask you this because you brought up one of my favorite midrashim or interpretations, rabbinic interpretations, that idea that each person heard the voice at Sinai according to their koach, their unique capability. I just, loving the idea, love the fact that our tradition has this idea that there's that revelation is universal. First of all, that it was accessible to everybody, that it wasn't just like Moses. It's not just, we have a story where it's not just Moses who is the intermediary, but that the whole people, everyone, including the infants, are in on this. Everyone hears it there in their own way. Just want to put that out there because that is amazing teaching, an amazing thing about our tradition, that every person can hear that voice. You don't need somebody else to do that. The other thing, and the other thing is that it's offered to everybody. It's freely offered. Everyone has access. So the basic idea that this is a process which is, it's specific to the Jewish people, but it's also universal, that a revelation is available, that God's voice is available, as it were, to everybody. If we listen, if we tune in. You want to chime in?
Yeah, well, I want to say a couple of things. So one is that I know a lot of people for whom many seasons of Shavuot passed where they did not feel to receive the blessing in Torah. Yeah. I myself included. There are many of us for whom we wander around seeking. And then at some point in life, we are ready to receive. And so there's beauty about this idea that in the spiral of time, it comes back again and again and again. There are no last chances. And secondly, I just want to say explicitly that the metaphor used is that each of us heard God's voice. But of course, we know that the messages come through in vision and in sounds, in art and intuition and embodied sensation, and that each of us understands a language all our own, and that the divine is able to communicate in all the languages. So I would say, whatever way in which you attune best, that's the way that you'll receive the revelation.
Yeah. It's just throwing in a little infomercial then about this series that we're going to do that Rebecca Schitzer is doing on creativity and spirituality, which is basically exploring with these 4 different artists how that process of revelation of, hearing the voice happens in their process of art making and their creative process. Okay, here's I'm going to get some of these questions. One question is, this comes up quite a bit. Do you have any thoughts about how to consciously increase capacity to receive when we are in constant, intense physical pain in the body? And I guess paraphrasing that, like when there are physical it was a very embodied practice, right? So when we're bringing attention to our body and all of a sudden our bodies we're noticing a lot of pain or challenges around our embodiment. What are your suggestions for how to handle that?
Yeah. I'm thinking about the feelings of living with chronic pain and the power of the breath. I notice myself when I'm in intense pain, my breath shortens and shallows. And so the conscious choice to bring breath in deeply, to direct it to particular places. And Rabbi Sheila Peltz-Weinberg teaches us not just to notice physical sensation or to notice anything that's arising, but to include. For myself, if I'm experiencing pain and I can include the pain and say, well, okay, so now I'm going to be in a posture of expansion and receiving. And that also is going to occur while I'm having shoulder pain. And while I'm also noticing that anxiety is here. It's all here. I'm going to include it in this circle. I'm going to give some breath to it. And maybe today my capacity to receive is this much. And maybe with some breath, it will expand and maybe it won't. And in both cases, part of the surrender is to accept that that's where I am today. It won't be where I am tomorrow. And to accept where I am in this moment. And even if nothing else, I've had moments in my life, particularly when unwell, when as much expansion as I could reach was just to be grateful for the breath. Even just to take in breath, if nothing else, and to know that each breath is giving me life. If I could receive just that much, it would carry me through until something shifted. And then I could assess again, what do I have capacity for?
That is beautifully put. Right on. Okay, we have about 2 minutes, Keshira. For people who may not have, some Shavuot program to go to tonight or be near a Jewish community or can't access cheesecake or blintzes or, dairy product, or if, dairy products are out for any number of reasons.
Or lactate.
What do you suggest someone does tonight to participate in this sacred moment? Like what would be something that everybody could do tonight? Even if it's just even if it's only for a few minutes. Aside from watch and participate in the recording of our practice today, which is a good idea. It's a good idea.
A couple of things come to mind. The first is that for those who stay up all night, we will attest that there's a liminality that occurs at some point after you've been up for a long while. And it's intended to bring us to an openness and to a dreamlike state. So you could incubate a dream tonight. You could write down before you sleep, what is the revelation that you're seeking? Or even the statement, I am open to receiving the truth, the Torah, the revelation that's here for me in this season. And when you wake up tomorrow, before you even move out of bed, see if you can remember or sense in your body anything that came through. And then, of course, the other thing, if that feels too intense, is that you might just have a spoonful of milk and a little bit of honey before bed, that Torah be like honey on our tongues, that we sweeten the way for whatever is going to come. It may come overnight and it may arrive in the days or weeks or months to come. Each of us goes at our own pace. But I pray that when it comes to you, that the way is open to channel through. Chag Sameach, everybody.
Chag Sameach. All right, everybody. That's a great practice. And may the Torah be sweet on our tongues and in the tongues of all the generations yet to be. It's wonderful to share the sweetness of this practice with each of you. So I'm wishing you all a Chag Sameach and Shabbat Shalom, and we hope to see you back on Tuesday. Thanks to Jet, thanks to Kohenet Keshira, haLev, Fife, and to each of you for being here. All right, be well, everyone. Chag Sameach.